Welcome to T-Prep Talk. We're going to hear my story. You're going to hear my guest's story. It's going to help make your story. And today we have... Welcome to T-Prep Talk. We're going to hear my story. You're going to hear my guest's story, and hopefully it's going to help make your story. I'm your host, Barbell, Honcho, and owner of T-Prep Gym. T-Prep Talk is the conversation behind T-Prep Gym. And today we have Gunter Chiropractic. I'm going to let him introduce himself because his last name's hard for me to say, and I don't want to screw that up.
My name is Doug Mclenllan, Gunter Chiropractic.
And he's been in the space for a very long time. We recently got connected. He walked in, and we set an appointment to speak with each other. And I was like, you know what, man? You seem like an interesting person. Let's get you on the podcast. So, Doug, what got you wanting to do that chiropractic, to be a chiropractor?
So when I was real young, I was always active, always playing sports.
Okay.
I loved being around athletes. And when I was into college, I was leaning towards going like physical therapy route just to stay near athletes. I knew I wasn't good enough to be any kind of professional athlete, but I wanted to be around athletes. And once I learned about the option as a career, there were some things I didn't love. So I had a friend who, growing up, always doing sports, always doing things, his family would take him to a sports chiropractor.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about it at the time, but I went and found one nearby, got a job actually working there for a little while, just fell in love with it, and it was a whole different approach.
No certifications or anything? You just got the job?
I was just doing side stuff. I wasn't doing anything
Okay.
important. Yeah, just kind of helping the office run. But it was a whole new thing to me, and I fell in love, and it was the type of, it's not drugs, it's not surgery. It's kind of a holistic way to take care of yourself and manage your body, right in line with exercise and being active and stuff like that.
Yes.
That I just loved.
Okay. Now, I feel like that work has been recently trending. Like a lot of people have been now seeing the benefits from working with you guys that do this type of work. Could you give me an overview of like what you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Gunter Chiropractic, I call myself a sports chiropractor, but I see everybody. I see, 3-month-olds that having issues with turning their head, things like that. I see 99-year-olds. I see everywhere in between.
Yeah.
My passion, though, is for helping people that want to be active, and that's everyone from a middle school athletes that's just starting to be lift weights and do things like that, all the way to an adult who just is trying to stay active and not hurt themselves every time they go to the gym.
Okay. I can relate to that. The beginning of this talk here, you said that you love sports, you love playing it, but you didn't know if you were good enough to get to that next level where you do that as a career, but you love the industry and you love you love sports. So you decided to still be in the world
be
of
around
sports.
it.
Yeah. And I can relate to that because I was a big football player and I really wanted to play college football. I tore both of my knees, and I was in the physical therapy room like for majority of my high school time.
Yep.
And after the first week of being there, I fell in love with seeing people have no strength to be coming back to normal, if not better. And I seen the magic behind a structured program designed to increase a certain strength in whatever you're lacking, imbalances or injuries. And then it ended up pushing me to get into personal training and in the fitness space. And so where I got all of my knowledge from, where it stemmed from, one, experience, and then two, I had a 1.8 GPA. I didn't even bother going to college. But I had a buddy of mine, he's a coach at Denton High School now.
Okay.
He had to get some kinesiology stuff for college, and he was sending me over everything. I had access to the portal for Texas State.
Okay.
So I was just getting all the information through him. So I was basically studying, and he would ask me a couple questions, in things that he was having trouble with. So I was basically going to college without going to college. And then I had a mentor at Fit and Wise in Denton whenever I was in high school.
Okay.
And he was helping me out too. I was asking a lot of questions. And then I started getting into the space of personal training, and then got my certifications for that, which is not as complex as going to college and getting your degree. And
right, but still, that's that technical learning. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So
Great
technical
direction to go.
technical learning, yeah, that's why I came, being technical with everything. That's why I named the gym T-Prep Gym. It's technical preparation.
Okay. Very cool.
But yeah, that's my backstory. I can relate to that. But how is college for something that you're doing? Like, do you guys look at studies and then you guys just experiment off of it, or you guys work in the field for a certain amount of hours? How do you get your degree?
Great question. So actually, chiropractic school, first of all, you have to have an undergrad degree.
Okay.
So you have to go to 4-year college, normal, and then you have to apply for chiropractic school. Chiropractic school itself is very, very similar to medical school.
Okay.
Instead of learning about pharmaceuticals and drugs and things like that, that's substituted with different anatomy courses and things like that. Because as a chiropractor, to be able to help align the joints, I have to know the joints very well. I have to know all the bones. I have to know the muscles extremely well. And if I don't, what am I doing holding somebody's head in my hands?
Okay.
So it's really, really similar to medical school as far as the anatomy, as far as the kinesiology, the things like that, the biomechanics of how the body works and how it's supposed to work. But yeah. So
like I said, based off my own learning and the definition is autodidact of what I was doing. I always emphasize before a workout warming up the joints, shoulders, hips, ankles, getting the body warm, doing like a full body thing, like 10 to 15 minutes before even getting into some intense exercise. So basically sort of breaking a sweat before you actually get into the workout. Because I've seen that athletes, before they start their game, they warm up for like an hour before they even start a game, like soccer
and they
players.
take their time.
Yeah. So they're kind of a little bit tired before they even start the game, but they're fully warm. So with everything that you've known as far as joints, what do you recommend somebody who is a novice lifter or an average or an advanced lifter coming to the gym 6 days a week? What would you say is a good way to warm up to prevent any kind of injury as far as the joints?
It's a great question. So, I mean, doing the exercise, there's nothing like doing the exercise. So if you're about to get on the bench, what I do, instead of loading up plates immediately to, in the 80% range of what I want to get to, I start with just a bar, and I just go through the full range of motion, and I let it rest down, and I check. I just warm up the joint all the way, full range of motion.
Wait, hold up, right there. I want to diagnose that. You said check the joints movement, so you're moving the shoulders, moving the bar.
If you have the bar in your hands and you go down, you go up. If you do the exact same movement pattern every time, no problem. But chances are, one time you're going to be a little bit higher, or one time you're going to be a little bit lower.
Yeah.
And if you haven't warmed up the joints to be able to manage stress under that load, then that's where an injury is going to happen. So that's what I like to do. I like to kind of drop the bar to my chest and just let it stretch my shoulders out, but in different directions, in different poles.
Yeah.
And I found that helps a lot.
And what if whenever you're warming up, let's say you go a little lower, you go a little higher, and then you try to check the higher range of motion, you feel a little bit of pain in the shoulder. What do you think what you should do there right after that?
I rack the bar as best you can and take all the stress off of it and then see how you're feeling, because your body will talk to you. Okay,
you take the stress off of it and you're good. But when you put in that range of motion
to check things out,
Okay.
Because there's multiple things that could happen. I mean, there could be a pec issue, there could be a rotator cuff issue. There's lots of things that can happen. Sometimes when you feel something, you rack the weights and you move around and you're fine.
Yeah.
But sometimes, that something's going to keep bothering you the more as you go back to it.
Would you say some basic corrective exercises or resistance band work, getting warming up through the full range of motion with some slight resistance like band work, would you say that is a good way to build strength and stability in that shoulder if you're feeling some type of pain when you're doing pushing exercises?
I would say that's more for mobility.
Okay.
I think that can do great things for just pulling against a little bit of resistance. Does great things for mobility. The stability is going to come with the strengthening, getting the load on it again, a proper load, a real
and
load.
Flexibility. What about that?
Yeah,
just stretching
flexibility,
it?
mobility. Just a lot of times injuries happen because the joint isn't comfortable moving through its whole range of motion.
Okay.
So if it's not, you're going to get a load on it, whether you're doing a squat and you just go a little deeper maybe than you're used to.
Yeah.
That's how injuries happen in the lower back or in the hip. But if same idea applies. When I get on the squat rack, I go as deep as I can, especially with the early reps.
See how everything feels.
Make sure everything's moving okay. Make sure it's loosened up enough.
Okay.
Then once I get a weight on it, I'm still going to go low, but I'm not going to go as low. My butt is not going to be touching my shoes.
Okay, because for that
with
day
the load.
that when you went past, let's say you went past 90, it felt some kind of way. So you're only going to keep it at 90 for that day. You think that's a safe thing to do?
Yes.
Okay, makes a lot of sense.
But my warm up will be a little bit deeper, is what I'm saying there.
Okay, just to feel everything
to make
through.
sure that it's moving well, and if I were to drop a little bit lower than I mean to,
yeah,
I'll be fine.
Okay, good.
I'm not going to hurt myself there.
And how does the work you do help athletes?
Yeah, great question. So if they are having some type of shoulder issue, a rotator cuff issue, they don't know what's going on. Their shoulder just hurts when they do a certain lift. There's two main things that happen. First of all, I got to rule out any major issues. Significant tears like a labrum tear.
Yeah.
Any significant things, I got to do some tests to rule those out, and that's an important first step when I get them into my office. But after that initial, we've ruled out the big things. Now we need to figure out, which muscle is it exactly. And once I'm able to figure that out, there's myofascial release is a technique that I use that's awesome for getting muscles that have either been overworked, they've been injured, and they go into just a little tighter than they should be.
Yeah.
Myofascial release helps release that, helps them calm down a little bit.
And would that be similar to foam rolling?
Foam rolling is that's a type of myofascial release. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of different types.
Is there more advanced, more in depth myofascial releases than because foam rolling? I feel like very simple. It just
foam rolling is very
surface.
Simple, and you can kind of self-diagnose a lot of things. You can take care of it on your own. If there's a tight spot, you can roll it. So yeah, I'd say that's just a simpler version of the kind of stuff I do.
Would you recommend that being a great implement to your warm up? A myofascial release.
Yeah, I mean,
if
you have an area that you tightens up every time, that's a good way to help minimize that.
Okay.
But if you're dealing with something, generally you don't want to push it too hard anyway. But that's a good way to kind of see, because sometimes that'll fix it. Sometimes you'll roll it out, it'll loosen up enough, and you feel fine lifting that day.
And what tools do you have that's different than a foam roller?
So I have all kinds of. I have one tool I actually just learned about on the Dallas Mavericks use it on their bench. It's called the Pro 3. It's an awesome little tool. It's like a little vibrating, like a massage gun type thing, but it gets in there deep, and it's a hurt so good kind of work that we're.
What does that do though? So I know it rolls out some like the tension you got in the muscles. This tight. What is it? What exactly does it do?
What is it doing? Yeah. So whenever the muscle's tightening up, if it stays there for any real amount of time at all, so the muscle contracts, it gets shorter, and if it stays there, it actually sets up scar tissue that holds it there, like a layer of fascial scar tissue that holds it there, so it can't relax even if you stretch it out, it'll stay locked up. And so myofascial release, the point is to break up those adhesions or that scar tissue so that it can fully relax like it should.
Makes a lot of sense because I'm constantly having
You probably felt that, yeah.
Yeah, with my knee, I'm constantly like rubbing these areas and moving my kneecap around. And when I don't do it for a long time, it feels like it's getting more stiff.
Yep.
It becomes more stiff.
So it'll be very tight. It'll set up that scar tissue. It'll lock itself in there like that. And then if it stays there for even longer, it'll like ball up. It'll ball up, and then you have a knot in your muscle. You probably felt that too.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I had 2 knee surgeries. That's why I said I always do this, for the ACLs, full tears on each knee. That's why I was in the physical therapy room for so long. And so what about fighters? Like, you ever work on any fighters?
I worked with a couple fighters. Yeah.
And I'm thinking with fighters, besides the impact to their bodies, right, from being hit, throwing different combinations, leg kicks, all that. The joints would be, I guess, the 2 most important joints would be the hips and the shoulders.
Hips and the shoulders. Yep. Your plant leg has a lot of stress on it when you go to kick, when you lean in for a punch. A lot of stress on it. So, but yes, I'd say that there are different things you have to take into account with a fighter, but it's all the same types of explosive movements. You're going to see that in football as well. You're going to see that in a lot of. So really, really similar ideas across most sports.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be the team chiropractor for the Rough Riders, the Frisco Rough Riders, the AA team for the Texas Rangers. And so I saw a lot of, real similar motion working on pitchers.
Yeah.
That really similar motion to throwing a punch. Not exactly the same, but really similar.
Yeah, very.
And just that explosion, doing it 60 to 90 times per game.
Yeah,
That's really, really tough on the shoulder.
I think about that a lot when I'm watching baseball and looking at these pitchers. Like they're throwing that arm out like consistently.
Yep. And so they need a lot of myofascial release. They need a lot of like functional taping or KT taping. Oh yeah. What was really eye-opening in my time working with the Rough Riders is how much time these athletes spend in the training room. I mean, they're in the locker room a little bit getting ready, but 95% of their day leading up to game time is spent in the training room.
That makes a lot of sense because that brings back a memory of being in football, and the coach is always saying to the top athletes, go to the training room before practice, and I'm guessing that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because the moment I became finally in that position, and I got injured second game,
Yeah. Okay.
But whatever, I don't want to bring that up. But anyways, yeah. So what about that taping you were talking about? You do that for the pitchers. I always see it in every sport, whether it's fighting, it's baseball, football, you name it. They got tape somewhere around the knee, around the shoulders. What exactly does that do?
So it's a fairly simple thing, but it's extremely effective. What it does is it supports.
Okay.
So a lot of times when you see it in different patterns around the shoulder, it's following a certain muscle or a couple muscles where it's supporting that muscle. So maybe they strained it a little bit, maybe they overworked it, maybe there's a slight injury, and it's trying to heal, but they have game tonight, so it's not getting that rest that it would need. You got to go back out there. So what it does is you lay the tape in a certain way that it takes stress off of the muscle.
Okay.
It just supports it just a little bit, but just that little bit helps it move in the direction of healing. And it's amazing. With a sore shoulder, you tape it, they play a game, they don't have that added soreness that you'd expect.
There's some smart people out there, man.
There's some smart people out there. The
came
design
up
of that
with
is amazing because it's extremely stretchy, the tape.
Yeah.
And so as you lay it on, you stretch it, and then you lay it on, and it just pulls, and it just kind of closes the gap between the ends of the muscle and just supports.
So it works like a brace.
It's like a brace, but it's free movement. It's not limiting the movement at all.
Okay.
It's just
that's what's amazing
a threshold
about it.
to it.
And one thing I wanted to ask, I see a lot of these videos on TikTok. When you crack the neck, what's that all about?
We don't say crack, we say adjust.
Oh, adjust. Okay.
So it's the same idea. Have you ever popped your knuckles?
Yeah.
It's the exact same idea so your knuckles, they'll feel like a stiffness, right? And that's when you're like, oh, I need to do it. And so you do it without even thinking a lot of times. You just do it.
Yeah.
And then afterwards it feels lighter, it feels looser, right? Same thing happens in the joints of the neck where, you might wake up one morning and you have a crick in your neck and you can't look left. There's a similar stiffness. It's inside the joint. If it gets locked up for any time at all, there's a little buildup of nitrogen gas inside the joint.
Okay.
And that gas inside the joint makes it feel stiff, makes it feel it can't move, you can't use it properly.
Really? Okay.
So when I go to when somebody's laying on my table and I'm adjusting their neck, I'm feeling first for where is it restricted. It doesn't want to turn this way. Okay, that's what we need to help it start moving that way again. And whenever we get it moving there, that nitrogen gas, it releases, and that makes a sound. And it sounds like a fracture. It sounds like a neck just got broken or something. It's a terrible noise.
Yeah.
But very, very safe. And it's not anything tearing or breaking or ripping. It's just that gas being released.
Okay.
Exact same thing as your knuckles when you hear that same sound.
And what about whenever that saying you hear, you crack your knuckles too much, you get arthritis in your hands? Is that true?
It can be.
Okay.
So with the knuckles, for example, there is a right way to do it.
So this ain't the right way.
The way that everybody does it is not the right way.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
If you pull a very quick, hard pull on each joint, it opens it up, and it's very, very healthy for the joint.
This is a healthy version.
That's the healthy version. When you do it once or twice, it's not going to pop. if you consistently work it in that direction, it will start to pop and fully release. I say that, I don't do it. I have a bad habit of popping my knuckles.
Yeah, me too.
But there is a healthy way to do it. If you're doing it the not healthy way, yes, you're going to wear down some cartilage and wear down some things that shouldn't be worn down.
Okay, and I was a long time ago. I don't know why I was doing this, but I was punching the floor with gloves.
Oh.
And ever since then, my it was like I was working. Okay, I'm sane.
Okay.
But I was working ground and pound, and I didn't have a bag to do it, so I was like, okay, just kind of work on speed. And I hurt my wrist.
Yeah.
And ever since then, it's been giving me some problems.
How long ago was that?
This was like 4 years ago.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
so that long.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then still's giving you problems?
Yeah, like what would you say happened there?
You probably just jam the joints. There are a lot of little bones in the wrist. You have your 2 forearm bones,
Yeah.
and then you have a bunch of wrist bones right there before it starts into the fingers.
Yeah.
Each of those bones, there's certain movements that they help and that they do. If they get jammed,
Yeah.
they're not going to move like they should.
Mm.
So it's a matter of realigning them, and every joint in the body can be adjusted. Because
Okay.
every joint in the body, there's movement, and wherever there's movement, you can get out of alignment.
And so
to that
punching the
movement.
bag, 2 people who don't wrap their hands and prepare them correctly to withstand all that impact they're going to be doing when they're on the bag or maybe sparring. Some people develop wrist problems.
Absolutely.
Is that the same thing?
Any little injuries is gonna move you in the direction quicker towards arthritis and things like that, long-term injuries like that.
Okay.
But yeah, and so wrapping that type of thing, caring for it that way helps. But I mean, you're still hitting a bag as hard as you can over and over again. So there's still going to be a lot of compression in there. Seeing a chiropractor is a good way to, occasionally get things opened up, moving like they should.
So then working with athletes, let's say you work for Rough Riders, right? You have you're responsible for with your work, all these athletes. Is there a general program that you run? You run through all the joints, make sure everybody's good, and everybody, what would you say? They're loose or they're warmed up, or what would you say you've done to the shoulder after you worked on it?
So with the Rough Riders, it was a little bit of a different situation because I'm kind of working hand in hand with the trainer,
Okay.
the athletic trainer that is on staff as well. And so mostly it was, pitchers have an issue with his shoulder. We need to focus on that.
Okay, so
the adjustments, the soft tissue work, all that stuff is going to be focused on the shoulder.
So it wasn't like everybody get in a line, you're up next, we're going to check all your joints.
Right. I mean, I would adjust them. Yeah. So if they're having a shoulder issue, I'm not going to avoid the neck and the upper back because it's so closely related. There's a lot of overlap with muscles and things.
Yeah.
So I'm adjusting the neck, I'm adjusting the upper back, I'm adjusting the shoulder. Anything that possibly could be involved, I'm
Okay.
gonna make sure it's moving. But then I'm talking to them too, and okay, your wrist, cool. Okay, your ankle, got it.
Okay. So let's say you're working with an athlete individually, not part of a team. Like
Yeah.
now you have your own practice in
Mhm.
your own place that you do your work, and so you're trying to let the community know, all the high schoolers know the sports. Let's say you had a high school athlete that wants to take football, basketball very serious, and their guardians are aware of this, and they want to make sure that they have. They're taking the right steps in longevity in their body to continue to play this sport and at a higher level. Would you say it's good for them to see you once a month, once a week, to stay consistent with you to make sure all their joints are healthy?
Yeah, good question. So that's that's a case by case thing.
Okay.
My recommendation for everybody is once a month,
Once
just
a
to
month, okay.
fine tune, just to make sure things don't have a chance to lock up and cause bigger problems.
So prevention.
Yeah,
Okay.
prevention. Ideally, all my patients, I could get to that point where it's just seeing them once a month, maybe twice a month, just to maintain where we've got them to. But a lot of times, very rarely does someone walk into the chiropractor's office without some significant pain somewhere. They got them there.
Yeah.
There are some people that'll say, I just need regular adjustments, and I know that, so I'm here. But most people are like, I can't move my neck. And so
Okay.
when I first get them in my office, I'm working, again, doing an exam, making sure there's not major issues
Yeah.
to worry about. But then I'm going to it'll be more frequent visits while we're trying to calm down the neck and get it where it should be.
Yeah. So you recommend people even without problems to come see you. That kind of reminds me a lot of fitness to me when I'm telling people who are healthy now to stay fit, stay moving, work on your heart, work on your muscle mass, muscle to fat ratio, keep up with all that, keep up with your nutrition, even when you are healthy and you look
Right.
good.
Yep.
So you can keep the longevity and you're healthy.
Yep.
But it always takes the doctor telling you got a problem for them to actually dial in the fitness.
Yep.
And just like your practice, it takes my wrist hurts, my knee hurts, my hips
get 'em
hurt
in the door, yep.
to get them in the door. So you would say even if you're completely healthy, you feel good, to still see a chiropractor to make sure you do your prevention work so you can stay healthy with that.
Yeah, and for me, my journey as a chiropractor and in fitness and being active and playing like I do, it has been a process of learning my body, learning what I need to do. Do I need to make sure and stretch? Is that a priority for me before going to play basketball?
Yeah.
Do I need to stretch afterwards? Do I need to get adjusted once a month, twice a month? Figuring out what I need has been an important part of my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with fitness. Figuring out how, what workouts do I love? What workouts, if I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to go do a workout, what's going to make me excited to go do that workout? And so it's a journey.
You try to find your reason.
Yeah, find your reason and find out what works for you, what inspires you, what motivates you to keep doing it. Because you got to keep showing up. It's not going to a chiropractor, going to the gym. It's not a one-time thing.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent if you want to take care of your body, if you want it to be able to, if you want to live life the way you want to live it,
Yeah.
and not be, restricted by, I had to have this surgery because my knee went out, or I had to, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay. And that was 5 minutes, right? Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by, Doug, for this podcast. I think I learned a lot, and if you were watching this video, I hope you guys learned a lot and got some insight of a good warm-up and the importance of seeing a chiropractor. Doug is in Gunter, Texas, right around the corner from T-Prep here. How long is it? How far is it from here?
It's about 23 minutes.
About 20 minutes out. Seems to know what he's doing. I trust him. We're actually going to go see him after this podcast. I'm having some problems with my hips. So we'll have that video out soon. Doug, is there anything you want to say as we close out?
No, I appreciate the chance. This is fun.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Goodbye.